Okay. Well, I want to introduce, oh, by the way, before I forget, just two things at the end of each session. We can be sure to fill out the little forms, which you've been doing all day today, so we can track responses and see that, make sure everything's favorable. Also, if you do have questions during the presentation, Scott would be happy to have you go ahead, stop him right where he's at and ask him a question. The only thing I'd ask you is the microphone for him to hear you is up here on this tripod. So if you kind of run up quick and ask the question, that would be great. So without further ado here, we have Scott Massey, president of the Awning Cleaning Industries in African Province. It's hard to believe, but Scott has been in our industry approaching 40 years, and it's focused really his business on service over manufacturing, beginning with seasonal awning setup, takedown, and subcontracting installations for fellow awning companies, and going to offer these services plus cleaning, repairs, and he's even been expanding into marine. He's wholesale to the industry and retail to the public. And they were the first to offer fabric cleaning, retreating, and repair services at a specialized facility. Scott is also, as I'm sure all of you know, president of the NECPA, and he is a director of the IFBN board. So without further ado, Scott, welcome.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Dan. I appreciate that. Hi, everybody. Thanks, Christine, and thanks to the IFAI and NECPA. One of these days soon, I won't be in exile anymore, and I will be back with you guys. But thank you for coming. And I wanted to let you know that the goal of this webinar will be to provide some insights into outdoor fabric cleaning by looking into some of the why, what, where, when, who, and how. And my computer isn't changing screens. Let's see if I can, hang on, I figured it out. Never mind. Okay. Dan covered most of that really good for me, and I thank you very much for that really nice intro. And for what it's worth, we don't need to answer this second, but it's just a thought to keep in your mind, because it's one of those things that is always running through my mind, and probably one of the reasons why we do a little better than we should sometimes in the business of cleaning. But so true or false, currently most awning and marine fabricating companies would prefer to sell a replacement cover than to offer cleaning. That number has been changing over the years. In the beginning, it was definitely, you'd suggest to people that idea, and it was really a retail piece. Customers would come to you when they felt they didn't want to replace it, but, that type of a situation. So, but there's lots of questions that go along with this. Who is responsible for the dirty awnings, dirty boat covers? We are. Why? Because we don't talk about it at the point of sale, because it would imply, spending additional money. And sometimes that doesn't really go well when you're selling an awning, although today's market is a little bit different than that. So why consider offering cleaning to your customers? First reason is because clean awnings look better and last longer. And the second part of that, much to the dismay of some manufacturers of fabric, they really do last longer, because you're getting all of the acids and the garbage off of the cover that causes the degradation even faster. The only thing that you really can't slow down is some of the UV stuff a little bit, but not a lot. And the last longer is proven. It is a real deal. That may not make you happy, but again, from a manufacturing standpoint, but it's a sales piece. Next one, to keep the fabrics looking good. I mean, the reality is that most of the woven acrylics, most of the vinyls, most of the fabrics that are out there today can handle being cleaned on a really regular basis, or every now and then, and come out looking quite good. So one that's a little closer to my heart too is to keep good fabrics out of landfills. There is, you know, a lot of fabric that gets tossed out. And, you know, that's not necessarily a good thing, since we do have some alternatives. It has come to my attention recently that the state of Massachusetts is probably going to be pushing some buttons on us as a group, as a world community, not to be tossing this stuff out anymore. So, but that's another question. So to help keep America beautiful, one awning at a time, one boat cover at a time. It is so much nicer to look out on the landscape, drive down Main Street and see, you know, great looking stuff. You know, it's just a real obvious reason to me that when people drive down the street that don't have awnings, or, you know, and such, that when they see beautiful ones, the idea clicks a little further than if they're looking at, you know, encrusted ones, and yeah, I don't really want that. Because it's profitable. There is no two ways about it. If it is sold right, done right, there's plenty of money to be made. This is not necessarily suggesting that it's a replacement for recover, not in the least. Recover still happens no matter what you do. So the answer is all of the above to all of those things. It is just, you know, one of the things that's coming along these days, growing and growing. There are more and more people looking for the cleanings. So let's focus on because it is profitable. When done right, an outdoor fabric cleaning service will create additional income stream from existing customers and new customers. It is, I mean, that says it for itself. When it's done right, people are happy. People are happy with what they get back. They're not always happy with pricing, but that's life. And I might repeat this during the conversation, but if you're selling it for the right price, not the cleaning, but the actual product, then the cleaning should seem like an easy sale in between times that a customer would probably be willing to do. Again, it's not a replacement for recover. Nice looking awnings are often our best source of continued success. And that is what I was saying before. You drive down the street, you look in the yards, you go to visit a neighbor, your neighbors visit neighbors. And, you know, that's where, if you're sitting under a, you know, bird poop encrusted awning, or under a bird crusted in, you know, boat cover, yeah, it's not necessarily what somebody else might look at. They might turn to other sources. The internet is a great source for a lot of things. Sometimes it's other than awnings, other than fabric products. So beautiful, like I was saying, beautiful awnings are inviting and make a statement. Sometimes they make statements that are old school, like this grouping here, and sometimes they make statements that are much more modern. So, okay, what if you could change your relationship with a customer from new sale and recover to every year? So when properly advised, your customer will do much more business with you because, whoops, sorry about that, because, yeah, doing well with this, because of regular scheduled maintenance. So what do I mean by that? So one of the greatest periods of lost time is in a relationship between an awning company or a marine fabricator and their clients is from sale to recover. Some of us do put up and take down. Some of us, you know, collect the boat covers at the end of the year and do things, repairs, you know, new zippers, new glass, whatever. But that time can be pretty big, and that time can certainly be shortened if you are recommending to the customer, if you suggest at some point that that could be cleaned, And honestly, you might have a little push when it comes to the awning customer, but honestly, when it comes to the marine client, I've rarely found a marine client, unless they're just using their boat for fishing, and that's an honorable scenario. But the folks that are enjoying it for a greater purpose of just finding sanctuary on it, they'd really like to hear that you can clean it. So how big is your dash? It's a space, between, like I was saying, it could be made much smaller. You could go to a year-to-year communication. So stay connected with your customers to anticipate what they need before your competitors do. We, as a cleaning company, hear from people that have awning companies or marine fabricators that don't offer it. Most times we try to ask the questions of, well, where did you buy it from? Who maintains it for you? And we try to redirect and sometimes get a new client based on that. We'll get the manufacturer, the folks that have made or serviced their covers. And other times not. And I'm sure awning company A has a customer that calls awning company B to find out if they offer anything, especially when it's at recover time. And sometimes that's just the end of story, but at recover time, people are always looking around going, you want how much? So, and again, maybe that's not as great of a situation these days, because we're all just crazy busy with how much work there is. So cleaning provides great customer connection, and that spreads. If the customer is happy, they're going to tell, as the old story goes, 10 other people that you are the guys to go to. So what kind of customers want a cleaning service? So you got all kinds of people: bird lovers, bird haters, picky ones, cheap ones, fans of clean, people grossed out by proximity to bird poop, especially if you live in Florida near the really big birds. And the mildew, rich ones, people with sarcastic friends, people who like to admire their choice to have outdoor fabrics, green people who want to make it last as long as possible, business owners, homeowners, boat owners, management companies, country club managers, and on and on and on. There's no shortage of people who want to do it. So let's talk about residential awning companies for a second. This happens to be a retractable, or a retractable is a huge piece of the awning world these days and has been for a bunch of years. But this is what we bump into a lot. We'll get a phone call from people asking us to do something about that. And that, again, we go back to, would you rather sell them a recover? The answer may be yes, but if the customer doesn't want to spend blank, could you make a second option, make a menu out of what you have and go for a cleaning, which very likely could end up like that. That is the same awning after cleaning, and that was an on-site cleaning, just for what it's worth department, versus taking it off and cleaning it. We were able to do that on site. And now you can see me with light on. Thanks, Gary. So can you wash residential awnings on the house? Yes, you can. Limitations. There's some places that you don't want to do it. But if the fabric's in good condition, and no repairs and no restitching is necessary, then yeah, you can certainly do it. You want to consider what you're doing and how you're doing it in the time frame. Being that most of us are from the northern part of America, all these, well, not all, but many of these awnings are coming off the homes, off the commercial places. So you've got a secondary option where people, south of here don't necessarily engage in the same scenario of taking down awnings in the winter. So, and no, if the awnings are extremely dirty, you're going to spend way too much time on site. So you're better off doing them off-site at a facility at your place, or however you choose to work that. Also, if you can do them on site, you can eliminate, in the case of retractables, you're going to eliminate the cost of removing the awning cover and replacing the awning cover after it's done. Commercial awning customers. Mostly we're talking storefronts, but we could be talking country clubs, and et cetera. But on-site cleaning of awnings such as this are certainly doable. That we did not take that down to clean it. That was cleaned on site. And if I understand the folks that referred that one to me were the manufacturers of the cover. It was about 4 years old at the time. So I think the customer had a well worth scenario there. This is another case of where this couldn't come down. You wouldn't come down. This is in Texas, I believe, at one of the sports stadiums. One of our good friends goes around the world cleaning all kinds of really big places. And this is one of the ones he showed me, sent some pictures along. It's Lane Cooper. And he's, if anybody's interested in knowing more about him and what he does, I'll gladly share with him. He does a lot of big fabric structures. So the problem with dirty, unattractive awnings on commercial building causes many architects, designers, and potential customers to consider alternatives to fabric awnings. And that's, we mentioned that before too, but that is, it's fact of life. If somebody's driving down the street, and especially if they're involved with decision-making on buildings, it's much better to, present clean. That's some befores, and there's some afters. So again, would those have been recovers? Maybe. Again, not negative on recovers, just pushing what I know how to do best. Okay, move on. Boat owners. One of the kicks we get out of people when we're talking to them is, they like the idea of canvas envy, what your dock mates feel when they see your freshly cleaned boat covers. Most people who own boats are leaving their boats in slips, as far as I can tell. I mean, there's probably a lot of people who, bring them out of the water every time they use them. But when you're at a dock, I can honestly tell you that the repeat performance on a dock, we'll do one, then the next one comes, the next one comes. Because people want to know, what did you do? Who did that for you? How did you manage that? And in most cases, they're not terrible like that, but yeah, it is very possible that could be the case. And it occurred to me just a second that my screen for seeing you guys is gone. So if you're trying to communicate with me, I apologize, but I'm not currently hearing anything coming from you guys if there is. So the questions may have to wait till the end. So don't think that I ignored you. I didn't. I currently can't see you. And there's another one. Yeah, I'm sorry you just ate lunch and had to see that. But so just look at the lower right. That's what can be done. I'm not recommending that you send covers like that to us. We're not the happiest campers when we see them, but it's an FYI that it can be done. And you can make money off of that if you can't sell them a recover, because you know what, next year it's going to look half that dirty anyway. So let's talk about maintenance versus restoration. The idea of maintenance, this is one of the keys to success, especially on on-site cleaning. So maintenance is, maintenance is easy and profitable. Maintenance is regularly scheduled cleaning, so items are never allowed to become extremely dirty or dirty at all. The best place to sell this is at the point of sale, when the customer is open to a short discussion about how to keep their new investment a great investment. Provide them with a quote right then and there. This is something that, amazing as it may seem, the customer is really listening to you at this point, because you just put up their brand new cover, their brand new awning, whatever it may be, and they really need to know how to, communicate the idea back to you that they want it to, keep looking that way. Suggest a plan to keep this outdoor fabric looking great for its entire usable lifespan. It's not going to last forever, but there's no reason it has to look like crap in between the dash, in the dash time. The plan is regularly scheduled maintenance. Easy and profitable. There is no easier method of cleaning outdoor fabric than to clean it before it gets very dirty. I know that's kind of cheating, but that's really where it's at. We try to promote to our customers we don't sell at commercial awnings, but when we're involved with the cleaning side of it, we're usually at a point where when they see what can be done, then that's when we say, like to see you this time next year. And, we go ahead and book an appointment for the following year. And now we've got a customer that is willing to repeat because they can see what can be done. You can also use less and safer products, less scrubbing, less time, less work, less complaints from the customers, employees, more satisfaction, and more profit. The first time you go to do a job like that, it's going to take a while, but anyway, I'll try not to back it up again. So maintenance requires us to take a proactive approach. Currently, most cleanings begin with a customer complaint that my fabric looks really dirty. What can we do about it? Restoration is more difficult. Restoration requires deeper cleaning of neglected items and possibly repair. And for that, you need to consider, how much more are you going to have to charge? How much time are you going to be there? What kind of satisfaction may or may not be available at the end of the cleaning? So you need to, think about it. You can choose to make a cold call out of it if you're trying to sell work. And if you're getting involved with the cleaning end of things, that might be your goal. And this might be a good time to say something about what I think is going on in the industry, just as a general rule of thumb. Right now, we're super busy. Everybody's busy. In a couple of years, there's going to be, like it has been, all this new work is going up. All this new product is getting out there. Well, that may, and I won't jinx it, but it may slow down. And if it does slow down, we need to fill in some of the gaps that we currently don't have. And cleaning and servicing and restoration may be part of what that is. It could be part of what that is. You could walk up to a client, they call you, they want to recover, but they hear the number and they might be open to the conversation about cleaning. It's okay to do a test sample for some people just so they get some kind of thing if it is a really, fairly shot awning. Although you've seen in some of the other pictures, even that is possible. And this is where experience comes into play. Once you get a little more used to the idea that some can clean up better than others, you'll make a decision. What fabric is it? How long's it been there? The stitching going to come apart? There's just lots of things that you need to think about so you don't end up, not being able to satisfy the needs of the client. And for takedown purposes, this is just an example of, even if something looks that dirty, the inset picture is the possibilities. They can come out quite nice. Today's fabrics are pretty amazing things. Yeah, there's some of the ones that you may not want to touch. The one to the right, that's one of the most amazing. That's lichen, and I don't know what the rest of that is, but it's the first green one is lichen. Lichen is a strange product that comes from various forms of mildew, second life growth, forms little flowers. You can find it on trees and rocks in the woods. It's usually on the northern side, so you find this stuff on northern exposed fabrics. And yes, I'll gladly get rid of that. But see, that's the same guy. So given the possibility that the customer won't replace it, options are there. One of the things too, before I jump here, is I'll remind people that underselling a cleaning is the way we began. It's not lack of confidence. It's lack of, complete knowledge of what the end result will be. So if I undersell, most of the time we suggest people to sell at 70% improvement. If you give them 90, you're a hero. If you give them 65, you came close. But it minimizes some disappointment. Most times it's like, I had no idea you could do that great. So what kind of fabrics can be cleaned? And I just did that again, I'm sorry. So, we start out with probably the most popular one that comes to us, the woven acrylic, woven polys, nylons, acrylic, coated scrims, vinyls, all kinds of vinyls, from the ones that are utilized for storefronts to the tents, Dacron, clear vinyl. It's pretty amazing how nice clear vinyl will come out. The boat folks are usually impressed, but usually you have to, it's a maintenance situation. It's amazing how fabrics last, nice and clear if you're maintaining them on a regular basis. So what outdoor fabric items can be cleaned? You can use your imagination. Some of them are obvious, awnings for windows, porches, stationery, retractables, tents, umbrellas, cushion covers, shade sails, pergola covers, sails, boat covers, top. It pretty much runs the gambit. Almost any outdoor fabrics. I don't know if we've turned a corner on it, but I can tell you from my perspective here, we are seeing a lot better grade of fabric out there. We're not seeing so much of the, I don't know what that is fabric. So it becomes a lot more readily easy to say, yes, I think that'll turn out nicely. So what products do you use? What permits might you need? And that, the products, I'm not going to go into brands. They're all out there. Your suppliers can make recommendations on that. What I recommend is, try to find what is the safest for you. Because as a user of products, cleaners and protectors, you want to make sure that, some of it's been thought about. You want to make sure that, do you need gloves? Do you need a mask? Everybody's got a mask almost these days. Wrong kind, but mask. So, that's really, you want to look and make sure that they're safe. And you want to make sure that the manufacturer of the fabrics has some skin in the game. They may not say specific things, but if you call and ask, they'll tell you maybe what not to use. And I can help you with that too. And I don't mean brand names. It's more, the style of chemical that's in the product. What permits might you need? If you're working in the city, whether it be Boston, New York, or Greenwich, Connecticut, there's lots of places that say, hey, you can't do this during times. And most of the awning companies are probably in the game anyway. If you're out there in Boston or in New York trying to put up an awning after 8 o'clock in the morning, you'll get beat up by somebody. They'll tag your vehicle for a $300 ticket just because they love you. But the permits, you need to just look and see. Some of you know it already, but from a cleaning standpoint, believe it or not, your greatest fear is not so much that it might not come out well, but that you're going to get slapped by somebody coming from the town saying, hey, you can't do that without a permit. The other thing you got to watch out for, it just reminds me of a couple of times we've bumped into, you can, if you break out a squeegee to clean the window off after you're done cleaning, watch out for the window cleaners. They will show up and be pissed off, thinking that you're stealing their work. Okay, where do we get water? The birds are really my friends. They not only show us where the water is, but they keep the cleaning needs possible. except for pelicans. I'm sorry, not a pelican fan. So some people carry water in tanks on their vehicles. Some people utilize the outdoor spigots if they're available, and a lot of new architecture doesn't include spigots on the outside of buildings. So you might have to work some relationship with a neighbor business or something to find water. We don't recommend stringing hoses through a building, through a customer's location. You lose a hose inside a clothing store, not good. So it's something that you have to think about. Where are we going to get our water when you do a sales call? How much does it cost? How long does it take? Can you do it in cold weather? Lots of questions. So the costs should, vary according to what your area will support and your overhead. One of the things that we look at too, as well as how much do I want per person? How many people does it take? We'll get to that in a second, but you want to make sure you walk away with this with money in your pocket. So it needs to cost what your labor plus your chemicals plus profit. And you can do that. Most of you have enough knowledge of your situation to be able to do that. It also is good to review it against the cost of replacement. And you can choose what you think the value of that is. I usually suggest between 20 and 30% of the cost of replacement. If your replacement cost is correct, that should be you should fall into that criteria. It shouldn't cost the customer half the price of a new cover to clean their awning or their boat cover. How long does it take? That really, oversell it to yourself. You got a small door entrance, figure 2 hours. If you got that beat, you play beat the clock and you do better. But that's how I do it. We've worked it down to the idea of taking history, turning it into square feet and looking at that type of thing. So you can work the angles on what you think it's going to take, because it may be small, but it may be the most obnoxious awning cleaning you bump into. And can you do it in cold weather? We do not recommend outdoor cleaning below 50 degrees. It's not good for you. It's not good for the cleaning products. They're not going to work their best. Most cleaning products work best over 50. The drying time is slower in colder weather. And the water you leave on the sidewalk is your liability problem should it turn into ice. So we don't recommend that. How often do you do it? How often do you sell it? As often as necessary, depending on environmental factors. There's plenty of, let's go to look at the city. Awnings in a city scenario, you probably need to do it a lot more often than you think. And if a customer is particularly picky about stuff, you can certainly make that, a regular situation. How often do you sell it? Sell it as often as you can. Honestly, I'll tell you one experience we had with a job in Manhattan. It was a Victoria's Secret for what it's worth. And it was an A store, one of their leading stores. And they had us do it every 2 weeks, except for the dead of winter. For 7 years, that awning looked fine. It's amazing how often you can actually clean without killing anything, if you do it right. How many on a crew? We recommend for safety 2. That's my suggestion. If you got a big project, you can certainly send out more than that for that. But we recommend for safety purposes, 2 people on a crew. Okay, what do we got here? So maintenance. That's really where it boils down to. I can't say enough about the opportunities that are coming up down the road in the cleaning end of things. I really do believe that this experience we've all had for the last 2 years of COVID has created more sanctuary than I think we've ever created before. So my suggestion is to give it some thought. Contact me anytime you want. I'm here. I'm available to communicate, help you whatever way I can. And we go from there. Anyway, thank you very much. Appreciate your participation. And now I'm going to find out whether or not you guys are communicating with me, because I haven't heard from you. No. So I'm gonna have to figure out on my computer how to get back into that. So I apologize if I've been blabbing and the whole room is empty and everybody said that Scott talks way too much. What's that?
Everyone's been able to hear you, Scott. Thank you so much. And I think Christine's setting up questions right now.
Okay, I'm trying to get your picture back up here.
Click on the presentation. Anyway. Yeah, click there. Okay, now escape. There we go.
Okay, then how do I get there?
It's at the bottom. See it, bottom right?
Oh, yeah. So should I,
Yeah, close out of it.
I can't get to it.
Company,
Just,
can you hear me? Scott?
Hello.
Hi, Scott. Jeannie from the Awning Company.
Hey, Jeannie, how are you?
Doing well. How are you?
Oh, not so bad. Still in exile, but fine.
I was always under the impression that it was not good for a fabric to clean it too frequently because the cleaning process itself could possibly take some of the, life or essence out of the fabric, and that could make the fabric not last as long. Is that true?
So if we are talking about something, Jeannie, a piece of fabric that is out in the world and it's a regular maintenance. So we're doing routine maintenance on a regular basis. Let's take a patio awning, for example. Just it's a residential, it doesn't see a lot of commercial traffic and it's not covered in petroleum pollution problems. If I can honestly say, if you do that every year, if the cleaning is done on that every year, and you deal with a lot of light fabrics because you have a lot of wonderful homes out there, you can do that every year for the life of it. We do that now currently. To honor the question properly, if we're allowing a cover, the customer has no interest in cleaning it, we get to the 8-year mark, it's pretty filthy, and then we have to really exercise some more strenuous cleaning. It's the strenuous cleaning, it's the cleaning of trying to get something that's really filthy back to looking good again. Yes. So if we're talking about that, the answer is absolutely. It's not going to add longer life to it. It might add more useful life because we make it pretty again, but absolutely, if something is neglected for a bunch of years, depending on where it is and what's landing on it, it will take life away from the longevity of it. Although, like I said, it'll look nicer. But so yes, the answer is yes. Hard cleaning is going to take more life out of something than it will to put into it. But if we do it on a regular basis, we have a lot of light colored fabric customers that would normally, we'd expect to see about 8 to 10 years out of a lifespan, unless it's a south or western exposure, which might be a little less. We've got some customers well past that.
Okay.
Does that sort of answer the question? Or
All the white fabrics that we have, we can clean them on a regular basis, yearly by, every 2 years or so, and that shouldn't affect the life of the fabric.
that is accurate. That is accurate. You're welcome. Thank you.
Hi, Scott. Neil LaFrance from Cranky Yankee Canvas. I do mostly marine work, not so much awnings, although I did do my first one this year. I have 2 questions. First off, what are the cleaning agents that you use? Are they phosphate-based, chlorine-based, hydrogen peroxide-based for mildew? And can you talk about the equipment and tools that you use to do the cleaning?
I can. Thank you, Neil. So the products that I use are not phosphate based. They're simple soap solutions. What we like to do is to have the surfactants in there pass muster in California, so they're actually pretty mellow, gentle to the fabric, gentle to us. They are for dirt removal. So the secondary question you have in there, for mildew, we don't include those. We don't want to use a product that is designed for a certain level of mildew. We like to be able to use a 6% standard kind of bleach that you'd use in household bleach, and utilize that in about a cup to a gallon for standard cleaning. The products that we use have no ammonias in them, so we can utilize mixing them all into one bath and use that as one item. So that's, we don't know how much mildew, and almost all of the fabrics that come here, one way or the other, they're bird poop or mildew, or either of those are good enough to have a bleach. Bird poop is not exactly the cleanest item on the planet. So from a germicidal side of things, the bleaching agent works. The peroxides are fine, but we find in most cases, peroxides are a step down from the bleach as far as how fast they work, the efficiency. So if we had more time, I might think about using a peroxide because it's safer. But the bleach, if we're using a cup to a gallon, making about a 5 to 10% solution, it's pretty safe. Safe for you, safe for the fabrics. I mean, nonetheless, there's fabrics out there that you wouldn't want to use any bleaching agents on. If there's no mildew or bird poop present, it's just some light dirt, we certainly wouldn't utilize a bleaching agent at all. But again, we like to mix them ourselves because if something that we're looking at is seriously mildew laden, we might go, a cup and a half or 2 cups to a gallon of water to make it work faster. We never really go any higher than that. Then it's just a matter of waiting on it. Time will resolve things. Some of it's easier for us because we're in the facility. I'm thinking that if you're cleaning, you've done some cleaning, you might have done that in the shop. And if that's the case, you do have the time parameters. You can let it sit for a while and let the bleaching agents do their thing. Definitely recommend using a plain soap and water mix afterwards to remove any bleach that might be residual or sitting. Sometimes in a braid or something, you might get some sitting there. But if it's a proper fabric, if it's a woven acrylic or a poly or whatever, or even vinyls, but don't often use bleaches on vinyls at all. But they're not going to change color. They're not going to have any negative effect. If the thread that's used to sew them together is, pretty much, standard in the industry, you're not going to have any problem with that. Sometimes you bump into store-bought cushion covers that will lose their integrity, the stitching integrity, if you use bleach on them. Did that answer the question, or is there a second part to that you'd like me to help with?
Tools and equipment.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So for tools and equipment, the number one tool is the soft bristle brush, garden pressure water, and the right cleaning products. Does that answer the question to all things? No. In our shop, we utilize power washers to finalize some braid or some rope edging or whatever, but we don't necessarily use it to do the general cleaning of things. If done properly, you shouldn't have to do that, although there's really nothing wrong with power washers except the people who use them. Yeah, I know that sounds terrible, but it's true. I mean, especially if you have employees. I mean, that's when the whole thing, the mark of Zorro is really easy to make on any piece of fabric. So to use it as a good tool up against the hard surface, it's not a bad thing. But the items that I would recommend is, first, go take a recover and mess with it. Buy a power washer that never exceeds 1,000 PSI, and buy one with a reduction valve on it so you can get it down to about 600 pounds. That's really all about you need. And then the other side of that is you want to use a power washer that incorporates a triplex pump, because that will be a nice, smooth, even wash instead of coming out like it's being chopped. But the soft bristle brush, if a brush is the right stiffness, we like to use one that is, if you press it up against your face and hurts, it's too hard, because now you're going to abrade the fabric. If you push it up against your face and it collapses immediately, it's too soft. So you need something, in between. We use what was called a truck brush before we got going with it. It's usually a brush that's made of two different fibers, natural and synthetics. And they are usually noted with, like, it'll be a black and a white hair. Every other hair is mixed in, and the ends are flagged for what it's worth. But that little flagged end on that bristle can get deeper into where you're going. And that's pretty much it. Then for the applying protectors, we utilize a electric spray here. Not necessary, but certainly much easier to deal with as far as keeping a continuous flow. If you had a pump up sprayer, you're going to lose the continuity of, some areas will be heavier, some areas will be lighter in the spray amount that gets on there. And while I'm saying that, I'll say it out loud. A spray protector should never run off the fabric. It should just change the color so you can tell that it's affected it. But 2 light coats are better than 1 heavy coat. How's that? That some insight? Okay. Any other questions I can help with? Or are you guys getting ready to move on to your next meeting? Or you're in tears because I bored you to death?
Any other questions, Christine?
I don't think there's any more questions. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Scott.
You are quite welcome. Thank you, Christine. Thanks, Steve. I heard your voice in there. If I can be of any help to anybody, please feel free to give me a jingle. I will gladly talk you through whatever you need to try to get through to keep you safe, because really it's like flying an airplane. Anybody can keep it up in the air pretty much. It's the emergencies you need, the things to look for to keep yourself out of well, now what do I do that I ruined it? So there you go. Thank you very much. Be well.
Yeah.
Thanks.